Hi, my name's Teri McFeely. I am the owner of Terial Arts. At Terial Arts, we are a DIY company and we like doing everything that we possibly can without having to go out and buy products already manufactured this way. So I created a product called Terial Magic. Terial Magic is a fabric stabilizer that makes your fabric more paper-like. I'm going to show you now how we treat the fabric. This is untreated soft fabric. I'm going to use a plastic bag. Now I like the Ziploc because then you can reuse it. And normally when you're doing a much larger piece, like a quarter yard, you would use a larger bag. But I'm just going to make sure that it's completely wet. It doesn't have to be dripping. And once it's wet, you want to hold it up to the light and make sure it's completely safe. It's non-toxic, so you don't have to worry about getting it on your hands. This is a little wetter than it has to be, but I like to hang it for 5 to 10 minutes until it's damp. And then once it's damp, I take it over to the ironing board and I press it. And when it's damp, it'll press much smoother than if it's completely dry. But if it's completely dry, that's fine. You can use a spritzer. I'm going to use a press cloth here to dry it. It won't harm your iron. It doesn't harm needles on your machine. It doesn't gum up knives on your cutting machines. It's pretty incredible. And so then once it's damp, we can just press it. Flip it over. And there. It's like a sheet of paper. You can also cut it like paper. It's extremely easy to cut. You don't have the fabric waffling on you. And look, it's fray resistant. So it stops the fraying, which is perfect for when you're doing three-dimensional art. Here are some examples of some flowers I've made with fabric. They're not fraying, they stand up, they're a little stiffer than fabric. And some of the other uses. I have a book here that I'd like to show you. Of course, this is my 3D flowers. We have 8 flower patterns and 2 quilt patterns and a fairy wing pattern, all using Terial Magic. This is for your die cutting machine and your electronic cutters. You just mat the fabric like you would paper and cut it, or you just run it through your die cutter, and you can do 6 to 8 layers of fabric that's been treated with Terial Magic, and when it comes out of your cutter, it's fray resistant. You can take your treated fabric, cut it 8.5 by 11 for your inkjet or laser printer. I like to heat set the inks once the print's done with a hot iron, but then you can just sew it to regular fabric and do what you'd like with labels, quilts, banners. Machine embroidery, this is one of my favorite uses. It doesn't matter what kind of natural fiber you have, you do not need to use any other stabilizer. You treat your fabric with Terial Magic and you just hoop it and embroider. So you don't have any scratchy stabilizer on the back of your embroidery for t-shirts. You don't have any shadow lines, and you don't have to pick out that awful stabilizer. You just can rinse it out in hot water. And then your fabric goes back to normal. And your embroidery stitches do not collapse. They stay very prominent like they are here. T-shirt quilting, I don't know if anybody in my audience has done a t-shirt quilt, but you normally have to use a fusible stabilizer. It can cost over $100, and you have to iron it to the backs of all the t-shirts. It doesn't wash out. It makes your t-shirts unstretchy and very heavy. This little quilt was done with Terial Magic. It was all sewn together and then rinsed out, and you can see it's soft and stretchy, not hard and heavy. This is reverse applique. You put 2 pieces of fabric together, you stitch your design, and then you cut away the design so that the fabric underneath pops up. Because the fabric's been treated with Terial Magic, it doesn't fray, and it makes the cutting much easier. And this is raw edge applique. Again, the fabric is not fraying and you can stitch very close. You don't need hardly any pins to hold it down. It kind of just sticks together as you're stitching. scrapbooking and paper crafts. You can do banners, flagging, you can still sew it and gather it, you can pleat it. It just allows you to do anything that you would normally be doing with paper with fabric, so you have a wider variety of textures and colors. I just think it gives your cards more impact. Thread painting is where you lower the feed dogs in your sewing machine. It's like a free motion. So you're able to sew your designs as you're moving the fabric around. And when it's treated with Terial Magic, it just glides. Stamping. If you treat your fabric with Terial Magic, it actually inhibits the bleeds of ink. So you can stamp it, heat it, set it with your iron, and then go ahead and cut it and sew it into fabric. Fabric painting. You treat your fabric with Terial Magic and it gives you a very nice smooth surface to do any of your fabric painting with. It stops a lot of the bleed. It just makes it a very nice surface. Here we have a card that's made with the fabrics. This was cut with a die cutter. This was actually printed on the wrong side of the fabric and hand cut. This was put in an inkjet printer, and both of these edges here were die cut. We have an origami bookmark here that was made with fabric. So origami is a very fun thing to do with fabric. Here is a swan that a customer made yesterday while she was standing here with a piece of treated fabric. So any of your paper crafts you can now do with fabric treated with Terial Magic.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to give our video a thumbs up and subscribe to Scrap Time videos on YouTube to be the first to see all our videos from Creativation.